Hey everybody, it's Anjanette from AJ's Personal Touch. How you doing? Um, Welcome back to my subscribers. Welcome into anybody new. I know you're probably surprised to see me 2 days in a row. Today is ending up to be a very big day for our family. And I'm home alone and I have nobody to talk to. I tried to find some people for virtual chat and everybody's busy right now. So I decided to come on and do another crochet and chat and let you guys know what's going on. Um, I know I wanted to come on and start reading Anna Karenina, but my throat's not ready yet, so I promise here real soon. But as of right now, I am officially so behind. I mean, I was already a little behind, but I'm like, okay, things are getting better because I'm almost done with the cat blanket, and then I'll finish the moose and the taco, and then I can start on the baby things that need to get done. Well, I got a call today. Let me count here real quick. I'm working on the cat blanket because I don't have to do anything but think of what stitch I'm doing while I chat with you guys. And the other thing that I have to get started on, I have to do a lot of counting and stuff. So, one, two. Plus, I have to increase the size of it, and I have to figure out the stitch count from the pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. So starting from 19, just single crochets. Okay. That's what I thought, but I needed to make sure. So I was playing bingo today, having fun, and didn't come close to winning anything on the first game. Second game, I had 3, I think, left to go for the full card. I was kind of like really hoping I would have liked to have won that one on the second game, which is the first game for the whole thing. I hardly had anything on my card. Second game, I started with a couple things and then it went to not much. And then all of a sudden it started catching up like it can do. And I was like, whoa, I was getting close. And I actually liked, the prize. Lots of times when I get close, there's usually a prize that I'm like, I would be happy for anything I get. And I'm always happy. If anybody wants to send me anything, do anything, I'm always happy, grateful. I don't ask for handouts for myself. I ask for things like when I need scrap cotton or whatever for cat toys. Can't buy a lot, but I do have enough of my own stash right now to work on it. When I start working through it, which with all the things I want to do and what I have back there, I may have to actually start getting rid of some of my onesie, twosie skein stuff, or just start making a lot of scrap projects. Anyway, it's not why I was coming on to talk to you guys today. I came close to winning the last big one, and they had some, I think it was silly socks. Anyway, they had sock yarn, and since I want to learn how to knit, my main reason that I want to learn how to knit is I want to learn so I can make socks. I have learned that I have tried making regular socks with a small crochet hook, and as of right now, I'm just not that good at trying to do that. Maybe I can learn, and I'm not saying that I won't, and I would love to try because I would like to feel the difference. I know some people say crochet socks are just way too big, but I don't know if they've ever tried making it with the small yarn because they don't. I've never heard them say, oh, that they tried it with the small yarn and, and the difference. I know because I've made myself slipper socks that it's a little bit hard. There's so much texture, you know, that when you are standing on it, it's a little bit rough. So one thing I guess with when I sit here and crochet and chat with you guys is I will have to check when I get a message, especially today with everything going on, which I will explain here in a minute. Anyway, I came close to winning the last one, winning the sock yarn, and they had a crochet hook set. They had some of the alpaca yarn. And I heard him say something about kind feather, but I didn't know if it was that the sock yarn was compatible with kind feather or if there was some kind feather in it as well, because I missed the beginning. But I put my order in last night using my $20 coupon that I had won. Sorry, I gotta plug my phone in. Okay, it is. I always try to have it. I have a really long cord and I try to put it over the side of my chair and I just couldn't find it. I thought it was on the floor. Anyway, okay, it's not anybody from there who messaged me then. I just heard a beep and I was trying to see where the message came from. Oh, wow, that is exciting. Okay. So anyway, I was doing that and then I decided, you know, they were talking about last week was Gia's last week and she was going to be gone for a while and um, I had missed live shopping because I wasn't out of my procedure on time. So I wanted to go. Goodness gracious. I got a text from somebody earlier and I had to take a second and I went back to text them and then they didn't answer me back. Now it's a person that does like a bunch of tiny messages. So I just get ding, 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 ding. I don't know. That is something that bothers me. My phone is usually where you can't hear it, but right now I need to know when the cats are outside, so I need to hear when the Ring doorbell goes off so I can hear them all. But I try to set it so I can't hear all the dings when I get texts because it doesn't matter what sound I get, it just irritates my brain. And it's not anybody's fault. I'm not mad at them or anything. Oh, I was getting texts from two people at the same time. I wonder why. One is a reminder about a payment that was paid for. Okay. Um, so anyway, I decided to start watching the replay of live shopping from last week because I wanted to hear, you know, Gia, somebody had asked when was her due date, and Matt and Stefan were like, next month. So that's all they knew, like that it's about 4 weeks away. So I was like, well, I want to go and watch her because I'm sure she probably lets everybody know, you know, the baby's due date. And she probably did a lot of talking about the baby. And, you know, plus she's going to be gone for 7 months. And I'm going to miss the heck out of her. Gia's my favorite host, my absolute favorite host. The first time I ever saw Gia host, completely fell in love with her. And I was always so excited when it was, you know, Gia who was on. I like the other lady. I can't think of her name right now. She was okay. The one that Stefan replaced. She was nice. I had no issues with her. But I absolutely love Gia. I love her bubbly personality. I love how she likes to break out in song. And when I was younger, I used to always love to sing and break out in song when it, you know, it came to me. And, you know, I just love her. We have some things in common, some of the same favorite colors and things. And I just love watching her. So I was watching her, and she did say when her due date is, which is February 8th. And I was like, wow, 4 days after my nephew and his wife. And I was like, how cool is that? We could actually, her baby could be born either around the exact same day, if it was early, or, a couple days later. Then in the middle of it, I get a phone call from my parents. And I'm like, my mom knows if I'm busy and I can't call her back, that I will just, I'll message her later. So I decided I wanted to finish watching Gia before I called my mom, because I didn't want to stop and start, and then it would put me off of the schedule that I had planned. So, hold on one second. I got to put you on pause for just a second. I'm sorry. Okay, back. Sorry, I had to blow my nose. I don't like doing that on camera, so sorry. Anyway, so I decided, she'd probably leave a voicemail, or if it was my dad, and then I'd call back. Gia was almost done. So that's what I did. And I saw that a voicemail popped over. So I was like, I'll go and read the transcript in a minute, because you know how a lot of cell phones will just automatically transcript it when they can. Oh, shoot. I needed to call the doctor's office, and oh, I forgot. It's a holiday too, so it's too late anyway. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and then I heard another ding, and my husband texted me, and I was kind of just a tad upset that I got this text from him. I would have rather heard it from my dad. He's like, you got to call your dad. Baby's coming. And I was like, what? And Gia had just finished. So I called my dad, and I guess they are doing a cesarean on my nephew's wife. Her name is Katie. So for those of you who pray, please say a prayer for Katie. She just went in. I just realized that. I said it was after 5. Her cesarean was set for 5, so the baby may be here. So I will find out if I'm making something for a boy or a girl. And then I'm like, I don't have anything done. And the first thing I truly wanted to have done was a baby cocoon, because that way she could use it right away when the baby goes home. I know a lot of people will get, what are they called? All the new things they have now that they didn't have. Nesty swaddles. They'll get swaddles, but swaddles, from what I understand, are thin. They're just out of a regular, like baby pajama material. That they'll put them in a swaddle to put them down to bed. Well, I made a cocoon for somebody, the first one, a couple years ago, and it was a pattern by Sunflower Crochet, and I'm going to do another one of her patterns for this one, since I don't have time to figure out what I would want to do if I wanted to try and do one on my own. And I thought she would use it for, when you take the baby in and out of the house, keep them very warm, arms can stay in, covers them up completely. And plus, from what I've seen, that when you use a baby cocoon, it can be easier. And I could see how if I would have had one when my daughter was a baby, I would have loved it. That when you put them in and out of their seat, it just keeps them all together, and it keeps them all. She loved to be bundled up like the burrito. She loved to be swaddled. So it keeps them in that position while they're in their car seat. And it makes it easier for them to sleep. She loved it. She's like, he just absolutely loves this. He sleeps all the time. He sleeps really well on car rides and stuff. But she actually would put him in it at home, which I didn't think she would because it wasn't the middle of winter. It was made out of I think it was a bulky yarn, and I would have thought the baby might get too hot. I'm always afraid. People bundle the babies up so much sometimes that I know my best friend, her daughter would get so hot sometimes because she kept her bundled up so much. I mean, I know I always try to make sure that Emily was bundled as a baby, but I also put her in a lot of breathable clothing for when it was a little bit warmer. So here it was like spring going into summer and it was warmer and it was a pretty heavy cocoon. So I was surprised she was using it for the baby at night. But I know once summer started, she still used it, but they had air conditioner on. So yeah, I got that. I completely understood that. Just like I used to make a baby blanket for anybody. Didn't matter who they were. My friend that I grew up since I was little, I considered like a sister when she had her first baby. And she lives in New Orleans. I was like, what colors do you like? And she was kind of like, well, why? And I'm like, well, because I'm going to make you a baby blanket. She was like, I live in New Orleans. I don't need baby blankets. Um, she was like, not like, you know, not like a crocheted one because those are pretty heavy. And, you know, it's not like I live up north, where you guys are anymore. And so at first I wasn't going to make her one. And then I decided I'd go ahead and make her one. I found a pattern for one that was depending on what size yarn. I've made it in different size yarns to make it different thicknesses. But it called for, baby yarn, which is what I used for hers. But I've made a ton of them out of worsted weight that have come out so nice. I love the pattern. It came on the inside label of Jamie's Baby Yarn by Lion Brand. I love that yarn. Once I found it, that was like the main baby yarn that I would use. So from what I showed the other day when I showed the yarn that I had gotten off of a stash, I started with Red Heart baby yarn and then Bernat, but then Jamie, once I found it, was like my go-to. That and I would go back and forth between Bernat and Jamie, but if I could get Jamie, that's the main one I got. I loved the variegated colors that they used. And to me, it had more to do with the colors than what the yarn felt like because I still swear back then all the yarns felt the same. They didn't really have one that was softer than the other until Karen, oh my goodness. So, I'm not going to think of the name of it right now. And I use it all the time. People either love it or hate it. Some say it's too splitty. Since I've used it most of my life, I absolutely love it. I want to say Skin So Soft, but I'm like, that's an Avon product. Anyway, Simply Soft, maybe. So anyway, I found my label. I thought I had lost it. I need to find exactly where I put the pattern. I had written it out once. I lost that one because the label's just a teeny tiny label. And I have it where I copied the label on a copier. And it's just this little tiny square with these little directions on a piece of copy paper. And it just a 2-row repeat, just a nice thin shell blanket. The only thing I didn't like about it was the the first row, the row of chains, and then you would start making the shells. They didn't do like a lot of people who will try to make the edges nice. They didn't do chains and then single crochets and then start into the pattern. They started it straight from the chain. And I don't know why. I guess I didn't think back then to change things up myself. I just followed the pattern. I never thought, oh, this would be better if I put just a row of single crochets first. And it was one that didn't have, it wasn't meant to put a border around. Although I would lots of times put a border around it. But then when I got down to where the beginning chain was, or like separated, like pretty big. So I always try to figure out what to do. Now, since I know how to do a foundation chain, that's exactly what I would do, and it would be perfect. I haven't made one since, but if I make one again, that's what I will do. Anyway, it's just a small baby blanket, and it's thin. So I would make one for almost everybody. I mean, that turned out to be, and actually still is, the most made baby blanket that I've ever done. I've made it in totally different colors. I've made it in solids. I've made it in stripes. I've made it most of the time in variegated. The yarn I got the other day, I've made it in the yellow version that I have of it. I've made it in that green version. It's just perfect because it has so much drape when you make it that when after it's made, you can fold it up really nice and small, and it fits right into the baby bag, and that way you have it so that even when you're in the summer, when you need a blanket, you have a blanket in there, and it's not big and bulky. It was the perfect size. So I made it for her, sent it to her, and she was like, OMG. She's like, I used your blanket so much. It was the perfect size because it's bigger than the receiving blankets, a little bit bigger. So it would go all the way around the baby, and it was warmer because yarn's just warmer than, the cotton receiving blankets. At least it seemed like my daughter preferred the blanket over that because I made one for my daughter when she was born. And that's why I knew I wanted to use that one for her. She's like, I never thought until I told her, I think I wrote it in the card or something. I was like, I know you said you didn't want a blanket for the baby, because it would be too heavy, when it's so hot in New Orleans. I'm like, but that's one of the main reasons why I made it for you, so you can always have it on you. You can put it in the baby bag, keep it in there, so that when you go into a grocery store, you can cover the baby up because they'll have the AC turned way up. Or if you go into a doctor's office where the AC is almost always turned way up, or you go to change her and you have nothing to set her on, because they didn't have the little foldable things that you could, take out and put the babies on then. I used to have a separate receiving blanket that I kept in there specifically to change Emily on if I needed to change her somewhere that didn't have like a pad or, even if they had one of those fold down baby changers, I would still put, you got to put something on there because you got to protect them, you know. Then later on, when one of my friends had a baby, I had gotten her a baby bag that came with a vinyl one that opened up. Actually, I think somebody may have given me one when Emily was a year old or so. But for like when she was a baby, I didn't have anything to set her on. So, yeah. And then I'm upset. I make everything for baby showers now, almost everything. I did for the baby shower for my niece and nephew. I got some baby books that I had gotten at a really good price. I got one of them at Ollie's, and it's a one of those feely fabric baby books that are normally $25, and I got it for like $4 at Ollie's. It was a find, let me tell you. And then I got some board books at Marshall's, and they were a lot cheaper than what they are normally are. And I think it was normally 15.99, and I got it for about $4. So I was like, yeah, I can afford that. I'm like, I can't, I just have a hard time for those board books, especially the little ones, paying so much money, you know. But I know you're paying for the materials that it's made out of and everything too. So anyway, that's what I gave her. But my main present that I like to give, besides um, what I make, I think I need to count my rows. I think I may have not checked something off. Anyway, I like to get the spoons for when you start feeding them solids. I like to get the spoons that change color because when it's too hot, those came in so handy. It I think was my favorite thing when Emily was little. Between that and then her little temperature ducky for her bath to make sure that her bath was not too hot, because I had seen when different people had thought that, they warmed up the baby food or whatever, and that, it's fine. They felt, like what was on top and it was fine. But then as they stirred it up, it was way too hot and the baby would just scream. So I love these spoons because they're soft tipped spoons. They got the vinyl on them. And then if it gets too hot, it changes to a solid white color. And normally I'd get a pack that had multicolors in it, and everybody loves them. And so that's just the one thing that they still have through all these years. They still have them out there. Munchkin, I think, is the brand that I normally get, but everybody loves them. And I just felt that I never got to, one of these days when I'm at the store, I'm going to have to pick up a pack for my nephew and his wife, because I know they didn't get anything like that at their shower. And I just think it's a good thing to have. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, 22. Okay, for some reason I thought I just came off of a single crochet row. You see, I did. Hold on a minute, I gotta figure this out. While I'm doing this and I'm thinking about it, let me know in the comments, what's your go-to gift for a baby shower? Do you have a go-to gift for a baby shower? Also, what's your go-to gift for a wedding shower? I'm going to have a wedding shower coming up here within probably the next year. So I have my cousin's son is going to be getting married. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 22. I think I messed up. I don't think I messed up. I know I messed up. But it looks like I started out right. Oh my God. I did what I did earlier on the other part of the blanket. Yeah, when I had to take it apart, I started off with the half double slip stitch. And as I was talking, I switched to single crochet. That's why I'm not starting the baby cocoon while I am sitting here crocheting and chatting with you guys, which here I'll show you a picture of it. It is Sunflower Cottage Crochets, her little dots preemie cocoon. Let me get it closer. I just really liked it. And those aren't baubles. They're, if I remember right, it's the bean stick, which I really enjoyed. I did one of her testing patterns. Can't remember. I think it was the washcloth, and I just loved it. I I love the look of baubles. I don't like making them. So I really enjoyed the bean stitch though, because it seemed to go in place for me a lot easier, and it didn't break my rhythm. I think that's why I don't like baubles. They tend to break my rhythm. I am like on pins and needles waiting to find out. The message that I got that I was kind of excited about earlier when I said, "Oh, well, I haven't told you what's going on yet." I let my best friend Beth know, who moved down to Alabama to live with her mom because her husband passed last year and she's on her own, and now her father passed this last year, and her mom hasn't been doing too well. So she moved down to live with her mom to help with things, and it's helping her out too, helping her save money so she can get either a different house if she wants to later or do whatever she wants to. I know she wants to take a trip to Paris someday. I want to go with her so bad when she goes. Anyway, I told her, that the baby was being born today, and she wrote me back. She's like, "How exciting!" She said, "Our great nieces will be sharing a birthday with us if it's a girl." My niece Bridget just had her kitty girl, and she must have named her kitty today. I knew she went into labor yesterday, so I thought she had the baby yesterday. So, yeah, we're going to have her and I, another reason to be even closer. Although Beth has so many grandbabies, I do have to admit I am so jealous. I would love a grandbaby so much. That's one reason why this great niece or nephew is going to be so spoiled by me. And I've told them that I would love to help babysit, and I do hope they take me up on it. I know my husband's hesitant, thinks that I probably won't be able to, but I have been feeling a little, better and better. It's just, I can't be sick. So I don't know. She's a nurse, so I don't know how much time she's going to be able to take or that she is going to take for leave. I know I'll just call her sister-in-law because it's just easier to do than my brother's girlfriend that he's been with longer than my husband and I have been married, but they've never gotten married. She's excited, and of course she is, just as I would be if it was going to be my grandbaby. And she wants to help watch the baby, but she's got to work during the day. Out of everybody who's, older and can help out, I'm probably about the only one who lives close by who could watch the baby no matter, what time of day. Now, she has in-laws who live like or she had her, I don't know, my niece-in-law, I guess, her family um, is about an hour away. So I'm sure her grandma wants to help as much as she can as well. I know they're all excited. And her sister, or her stepsister, just had a baby last year, I think it was. So I'm not going to fool myself. If I get to babysit at all, it's not going to be that much. I do hope they take me up on it. I do. We live about 20 minutes away, so I do hate having the distance and the fact that my brother and I aren't that close and we don't spend a lot of time together, you know, and stuff. But I mean, it is what it is. I feel like I've become more of a recluse since I can't um, drive and go places when I want to anymore. It was really hard for me to deal with the last couple of years of my grandma's life because we didn't know she was going to pass when she did. She had a stroke. It was out of the blue, and we weren't expecting it. I had been pretty well bedridden at the time after a really bad um, car wreck. My daughter would take me places, you know, but she was in high school. She had her stuff to do. And she didn't like taking me to go see my grandma because they lived so, you know, far enough out. And if she had plans, you know, she'd have to wait. And I would usually give in to my daughter. I would talk to my grandma. My grandma would call me, and which totally made my mom livid because my grandma didn't call my mom. My grandma expected my mom to call her. And that's how I grew up. You know, you always call your elders. So my mom was surprised that my grandma would call me, but my grandma knew that I wasn't doing well. And so she wanted, you know, to talk to me too. And she missed me too. So she would call me to see how I was doing and we would talk. I used to call her on my way home from giving massages. Always on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes on others days as well. I I just crossed that off too early. That shouldn't have been too early. I gotta count again. I hate when my brain gets like this and I can't think. But I just dropped something. I need to pick it up, so I'm going to put you on pause because I don't want to turn around and show you my back end. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. If the phone rings, I will put you on pause because it would probably be my parents calling me. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Oh, I would talk to my grandma. I would call her on my way home. But that was the hardest thing for me was I didn't get to see her as much as I would have. Even if I was working and still working, I would have called her and I would have went to see her on days during the day while my daughter was at school. And if I didn't have any massages to give, and I had for a while there, I had kept time out specifically to be able to go see her during the day, um, and wouldn't take any massages because my grandma was, my grandma was my everything. There are times that I feel that my grandma raised me more than my parents did. I mean, when we were younger, my parents used to drop my brother and I off at one grandparent's house one weekend and the other grandparent's house the next weekend so they could go out, go bowling, go to the movies. go to the bars, whatever with their friends. And it was an every weekend thing. We hardly ever spent a whole weekend at home unless it was in the summer and it was the, planting time or, just that my parents got older when they got to a certain age and they stopped going out every weekend. But when I was younger, it was every weekend. And my brother and I were close, especially to my mom's parents. Because my grandpa, he used to pick me up from grade school. He'd pick me up, and most of the time he'd be like, "Want to go bumming?" So him and I would go bumming. And that usually consisted of going to Target or Venture, Lands, whatever store was here at the time. Pick my grandma up from work, Venture, when that was here. Well, not Venture then, Luann's when it was here. She worked at Luann's. And then when they went out of business, she worked for Kmart. So we'd go see her at Kmart. I remember I used to get so upset. We had 4th of July every year. My parents would have a big party, especially after we moved and we just lived in my grandparents' backyard, basically. They had a main highway going across the front of their yard where they were. They lived on we lived kind of in the boonies. It took forever before we had cable where we were when they started, when cable started as a thing. But we lived in the outskirts of South Bend. And my parents bought an acre off of my grandfather and built a house on it. My brother and I were in heaven because we could go up and see grandma and grandpa basically anytime we wanted to. And when we moved in there, my parents used to have parties at the other house we lived in too. They had their best friends had moved in across the street. If I remember right, my mom said within a week of them moving in. I mean, that's when they met each other. My parents moved into where our house had been, and they moved in within that week, and they became best friends. And they had 2 kids, and that's what my friend who lives down in New Orleans. She was their daughter. My brother was really close to their son, who was older, just like my brother's older. They were within a year of each other, if I remember right. And then Pam and I are within a year or two. She's older than I am. I'm just enough that when we were younger, it was fine for her to play with me. But then as she was getting older, I was like the annoying little sister. And I just worshiped the ground she walked on. Loved her pieces. Didn't realize that, that's how she had felt. They had moved out of the neighborhood first. Um, Her dad actually was a pilot, and he moved down to Florida and started an avionics business and found a house and stuff for them to move into. So they had moved into a different area, a really nice house in a different area than where we were living. And within maybe a year or two after they had moved, my parents were just going to remodel our house and they went looking for a kitchen. And my mom saw some cabinets that she liked. And then it was at a construction place. Um, it's where my parents were told to go look at these cabinets. And so they built houses, but then they had, their line of cabinets that they sold as well. And, they were told they were like the best cabinets, to get for your money and the quality and all of that. So they went and they looked at it. My mom saw a picture of this house and she fell in love with it. And she was like, how can I see that house? Where can I go to see that house? And he was like, you would have to build it. It was a draft of a newer house that they hadn't built yet. And my mom's like, oh, no, we're just here looking for cabinets. We can't afford to build a house. And they sat down with them and showed them that, yeah, they could afford to build a house. And so they did. Um, they were planning on spending the money for the cabinets, which were a higher quality cabinet. And they were like, showed them where they could save the money here, there, different things. And my parents ended up building a house. And they bought the land for my grandpa because my grandpa had 12 acres. My uncle ended up buying land from him then later on and building up the street from us. It was kind of nice. It's like it was like we were so close to family then because across the street from my grandparents was my aunt. And then she had a couple of her kids who lived in the area as well. So it was just really nice. We were around a lot of family. Um, my brother is in the farmhouse now, which was my grandparents' house. Totally remodeled it. 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. My grandpa, I think, would be so proud of him. And I get upset because I really wanted that house. But it didn't happen. Because of getting sick, a lot of things didn't happen that I wanted to. And my brother usually always got everything. My grandma sold a car that I wanted that was my grandpa's. She sold it to him for $2. She was trying to sell it for 200, and then she decided I really wanted it. I was trying to come up with the money for it. So she decided my brother needed a car right then. She'd sell it to him for $2 with the understanding that when he was done with it, it was mine. It would get handed to me. He wrapped it around a telephone pole because he was drinking. And then they had this wooden table, round wooden table in their dining room. He got that when my grandma got rid of it. He just got everything that I always wanted. And I'm not really bitter or jealous. It's nice seeing that the table's in the house. He was able to remodel it to do what he's done to it. We never could because with me getting sick right out of high school, I've never been able to work enough to help do the things that, you know, to help have a nicer house and everything. I, have a hard enough time helping to clean the house, let alone make money to have a nicer one. Anyway, didn't come on here for woe's me, but the not being able to drive thing really bothers me because I missed out on so much, especially with my grandma before she passed. I knew I couldn't have a child, and then we decided to adopt. And the first person who we were going to adopt from ended up scamming us and like 3 or 4 other families. Wasn't even pregnant. She put a pillow on to make it look like she was starting to show. We never thought that it would happen. We had a harder time adopting because of the fact that I was sick, but it was meant to be. As I tell Emily, she was our miracle baby. I love her to pieces. Always will. I always thought, okay, I'm getting my miracle baby, and so that means I have so much stuff to look forward to as in grandkids. If I'm allowed to live, because at that point in time we were still thinking that I probably only had a couple of years, because that's all they gave to anybody who got diagnosed back then. And I had to deal with the heartache of thinking that I would never see my daughter graduate, get married. So when we realized I was going to hang on, out of everything that I used to dream of and want so desperately, I got 2 of them. I got my daughter, and I got to see her graduate. Didn't get to see her get married. And if she doesn't change her mind, which I would never tell her that she needs to change her mind. I will always support her in anything and everything she wants. She doesn't want to be a mother. So I will never push her. She knows I want grandchildren, but she also knows that I will never say, hey, Emily, I really think you need to have a child because of this, 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 and this. It's her decision. She knows if she wants kids or not. I know if they would decide to have them, her husband doesn't want kids to raise in this area. He's lived in a couple different countries, and he does not like, and he's not talking leaving state or leaving the country, but he'd like to move somewhere else if they decide to have kids. And when they told me where, I was like, oh, wow, that's cool, because I've always wanted to live there, so maybe Dad and I will follow. So that's another reason why you will not see me get as much be buying as much yarn as I did, and I've pretty much tried to work out of my stash the last 2 years. I only buy if somebody wants me to make them something and I don't have the right yarn, the right colors, whatever, or if I don't have enough in my stash to make what I need to make, because of the fact that when I would buy yarn and see it on sale, I could only afford to get like 1, 2 skeins at a time, and I've never thinking that I was going to do more than, blankets, and I could use it for striping or, whatever. Or actually blankets, I used to buy like the Hirschner's kits when I wanted to make a blanket. And I have one of those to make for my mom that I got, that I need to take out and make. I don't know if I'll be giving it to her now anymore, because she said she really doesn't need any more blankets or anything. So I don't know if I'll be giving it out, charity wise or whatnot. But it's in there for me to make. It's one of the whips that I need to work on to finish. Um, so I tend to get kits because I just thought it was more affordable. I usually got them when they're on sale, so the yarn ends up being cheaper. But then I learned that, lots of times you can find some yarns on very good sales and it ends up being cheaper if you buy them separately. Now that I know I like to make wearables, and especially with my size, and even though I've lost some and I am hoping to keep losing and getting down more, but still at where I'm at for right now, I need for any regular type top or sweater for me almost the same amount of yarn as I would need to make a blanket. So yeah, it's kind of expensive to make clothing for me. But when I see a good sale, I go for it. I still don't have this. I've got to figure out what I did. Hold on 1 second. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 4, 6. That's 27. I didn't take off 26. And so then I didn't take off 27. I had been 1 behind. So now I was 2 behind. Wait a minute. I should be doing a single crochet row, shouldn't I? Or a half double. So anyway, I need to start paying off all of my bills because we do want to end up moving, um, finding a nice place to retire. May not be out of the area. He's not actually thinking of moving out of the area. We may not remain in the same city that we're in, but he had planned on staying close because we just figured, well, we don't know what the kids have planned, but I don't see it being a hard thing at all to get him to agree. Well, although I don't know. I've tried to get him to move ever since I've known him. He's moved so much in his lifetime with his family that he's never wanted to move. And that used to be the only thing I wanted when I found somebody to get married. I wanted to move. So I've been here my entire life because I married somebody who, lived in a family that moved all the time. And he's not even an army brat like most people, think. His dad was a mechanic and he just liked to move from place to place, I guess. I don't know. I don't know exactly why they had to move all those times. And, I don't get it. I don't get a lot of things with his family, honestly. Some of them don't, still to this day, don't like me from the very beginning when they met me. And I don't know why, because I've never done anything to them. I've just tried to be kind and nice. And some of them say we seem to get along just fine. So, but now that his mom's passed, we don't do hardly anything with his family anymore. And since it's, had started to become harder for me to go to places, but my favorite vacation spot for us is Tennessee, Smoky Mountains. Absolutely favorite. And we have not been able to afford to go for quite a few years now. But I would love to end up moving down there. Emily and I used to sit there and say, come on, we can move down here. Because at the time, my husband was working as a custodian at high school. She's like, there's high schools down here. You can find a job. He's, he tried to explain to her it's not that easy. And then she's like, well, mom can find a job anywhere. She's a massage therapist. They've got, spas and, places around here, which I would have done in a heartbeat. I would have had to go back and take some continuing education courses to switch my license, well, my permit, because as of this day, Indiana still doesn't look at massage therapists as being, they haven't licensed them yet, as in a medical license. They agreed, what's the term? I think medical technician they agreed to, but not where we needed, a medical license. Not to where insurance would for sure cover. I got lots of thoughts on that too, but I'm not in it politically anymore. I'm not fighting that fight anymore. So I do want to get back to giving massages, but I would have to do them here at home for friends and family. Because otherwise I'd have to go and take continuing education courses, which we can't afford. They are so expensive. That was the sad thing. We had to do continuing education courses, which is fine. I believe all medical personnel need to do continuing education courses. But because we're not licensed, if we were licensed, we would have to get our license through the state. And most of the time when you become licensed like that, you don't have to renew it every year. It's like either every 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is that you are and where it is set. The system that they have in place now, they started where you have to get they may call it a license, but it's not a true license, through the state. To be us, because we are certified. That's what we are. We're certified massage therapists here now, instead of just a massage therapist, which means everybody has to take the massage therapy test now. But because it's not licensed, that means that the counties can decide if they want to make us get permits or if they're just going to accept just the license through the state. And it's more counties than not, or at least it used to be when I was still massaging, that would still make you get the permit because that's money for them, and that's not where they need to go and tax people and stuff. It's money. So I would have to pay every year for a permit for the county that I live in, and then I think it was every 2, maybe it was 4 years for the to be certified through the state. And that's a lot of money. And especially when every year our county would raise the price. When I first started out, if I remember right, when I first started out, I was paying, well, maybe not every year, but for a while there, it was starting to be like every other year. When I first started out, I think we were paying $25. And then it went up to 30. Then it went up to 35. By the time I was done, I think we were up to 150. And they were still going strong. So, yeah, we really needed it for nothing else, where we didn't keep getting gouged out of a ton of money, because massage therapy, there's enough people for every therapist if everybody would go and get massages like their bodies need. So a lot of us work together. And if somebody needed a technique that we didn't do because there are so many different techniques and different things to learn in massage, if we knew a practitioner who did it, we would send them. We would refer them to them. So then, I got a lot of referrals for people who needed glute work because my sciatica would go out. So I learned really well how to massage the glute area and that to help release the sciatica. It's painful, but I got really good at it. So if somebody had sciatica, I was usually the person that somebody would refer to. I also did a lot of medical massage, especially because I worked at the chiropractor's office and I helped people with TMJ. I learned how to unlock the jaw area. I absolutely love my job. I miss it so much. But in order for me to go back, it would just cost a lot of money because that's what I was getting. We had to pay all that money for the permits and everything. But then every year we had to get so many continuing education points, especially because if we got our licensure, our insurance through one of the two big main massage companies that also had magazines that they would send us. I always thought it was just a magazine place, but it was actually it was an organization. So you got your insurance and stuff through them, malpractice insurance and that. And, they also put out an informative magazine, and stuff on massage. There was a Body Works place, and then there was American Massage Therapy Association, which is what I belong to. Continuing education is so expensive. So expensive. I mean, if you look at the summits and things that we can do, just double and triple the prices on that for a hands-on massage therapy course. It's just it's expensive. It is so expensive. So I'd have to save my money for that and for the permits. And so by the time I was done, I wasn't really making much because I couldn't work as many hours because my body would shut down. So, but I still loved it. And like I said, I want to get back to it. I have my table still. We got rid of my permanent table, but I have my portable table. And as long as I work on family and friends, you know, and don't have, a business and charge, then I'm fine. So that's what I want to do because I miss it. My hands miss it. My hands hurt sometimes because they don't get all the exercise they used to get from giving massages. My mom needs them badly. So hopefully we'll get back to it one of these years. I couldn't believe it. It is after 6. So I'm going to let you guys go. And if I find out what the baby is, I don't know. I'll either come on maybe and put up a short or maybe try and come on tomorrow and do a crochet with you guys. I don't know. But Wednesday night, live here, not here, live on Kaylin's channel, which that's another reason I need to go because I'm going to make a graphic for us to use Wednesday night. It's our first live of the year. It's going to be casual. and it's going to be crochet with me style, where we chat with you guys. Bring your crochet, chat with us. We didn't have time to prepare a topic like we wanted to because we were both sick at the beginning of January, and and I, as you know, remained pretty bad because of my acute pancreatitis, well, chronic pancreatitis attack that was happening, and right now it's acute, and I'm just trying to make my body forget that it's in pain because I'm still waiting on my pain meds, because the whole opioid crisis, and it's the people who were getting the drugs who would sell it, which I'm sorry for the legislatures and the people who believe that. If they truly had chronic pain, they would know that if you have something that's helping you and is working, there's no way you're going to sell it to anybody because it's worth more than money. It's worth so much more than money when it helps you get through every day and to be able to do the things you love, like crochet. And that was one of the things that had just started happening when I got to where I was in way too much pain and couldn't handle it anymore. Is they were making it so much harder to get the medications that I needed. So that's a whole other story. Anyway, I'm going to get going. So, trying to decide if I should have you guys guess if it's a boy or a girl. But I don't think I'm going to do that because I'm going to end up posting it somewhere once I find out. Or if my family posts it, and some of you can see my private feed. So, yeah, I won't do that. But I will try to get my labels together and do the guess how many labels I used last year. And I'll give something a little away with that. But let me know if you have a way that you would like me to announce, what the baby is. Except I may just come on and put up a short when I find out. So I'm going to get off here, though, let it get uploading because it's over an hour. I didn't mean to go over an hour. I do apologize for that. But thank you for sitting here with me while I'm just like in the head. My husband's with my daughter helping her buy a car right now. And I thought they'd be home already, and they're not. But they're also at a dealership that's like an hour away. And, it takes a while for them to run all this stuff, especially on a holiday. So, yeah. Love you guys. And remember, you matter. Let me see who just... Oh, that's the guy next door. I was going to say I could tell you what the baby is if that's who it was, but it's not. So remember, you matter. I love you guys. If you need me, you can private message me on Facebook. You can send me an email, although I have not been so good at getting those right now. And I'm always here for you guys, though. If you ever want to one-on-one talk, I know Cynthia at Joyful Crochet Creations. I think that's how the whole name. Anyway, she's been putting together play dates for when she has time. She's calling them play dates where she can be one-on-one with a subscriber. She's been putting up the times and dates that she's available on her community page, and then they can get together and go on Zoom. I think she uses to chat face-to-face. Let me know if any of you guys would be interested in something like that. Just sitting and crocheting with me one-on-one. One-on-one girl time. Or boy and girl time. And, getting to know each other if you would like that. Or if you want me to start getting the virtual group chats back up and going. I miss those as well. The CALs will start again in a couple weeks. And, and I know that that's kind of like a little bit of a virtual group chat, but, just one where anybody comes to work on anything they want. I haven't done one of those in a while. Plus, Plus, I took the rooms out, which was, I think, the worst thing they could have done on Facebook. But anyway, as long as you are a friend of mine on Facebook, we can always get a private virtual group chat going. So let me know what you think, if you would like me to do something like that. I would love to spend more one-on-one time with you guys. So I love you. You matter. Don't let anybody tell you different. You're gorgeous and beautiful. And I'm about done. Let me know what you think. I'm almost out of yarn. I would like to make a perfect square, but I'm not going to have enough yarn. So, love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Later.